of this Library 2.0 Sustainability in Libraries Conference. And thank you to our volunteer for this session, Deanne. And just going to flip to the next page, just confirming that we have started recording this session and thanking our presenters for the session.
Thank you. Yes, we're recording.
Thank you, Deanne. Hello, everyone. My name is Tara Matsuzaki. I'm a librarian with the West Vancouver Memorial Library, and I want to welcome you to our virtual presentation today, which we're calling Just Start, From Grassroots to Green Policy.
And I'm Julie Backer, also a librarian at West Vancouver Memorial, and I'll be co-presenting with Tara.
I acknowledge that Julie and I, as well as the West Vancouver Memorial Library, are on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations. We recognize and respect them as nations in this territory, as well as their historic connection to the land and waters around us since time immemorial. And today I am appreciating the sunshine, which has followed a few days of rain, which is much more typical for the fall in this West Coast location. And I invite everyone to think about one thing that you appreciate or love about living on the land and the territory where you are. Our more basic subtitle is A History of Sustainability at the West Vancouver Memorial Library. I acknowledge that it is an extraordinary time, and I'm so glad that this is a virtual conference and that we're able to meet online and that we're making a difference and contributing to good public health outcomes by connecting in this way. Speaking of making a difference in terms of sustainability, we believe that our location contributed to our library's journey towards sustainability. West Vancouver is a suburb of Vancouver, a large Canadian city on the West Coast. And in this slide, we are kind of about here. The West Coast of Canada has played a large part in the origin story of many significant organizations in the environmental movement and has a long history of environmental activism. In 1971, a small team of activists set sail from Vancouver in an old fishing boat to protest nuclear testing. That small group went on to create Greenpeace. Coming back to our present context, we're a one-branch suburban library with a staff complement of about 44 FTEs serving a population of 42,000 with nearly 31,000 active card holders. Set alongside the shore of the Pacific Ocean and at the base of the Coast Mountain Range, amid the lush, green, West Coast temperate rainforest of towering trees, we want to work in a literal and metaphorical green environment. And you can see here for context, if you are down in America, that we're just almost on the border of Washington State. For the next 15 minutes or so, Julie and I will outline how the West Vancouver Library's staff actions inspired its administration and board. We'll talk about some of our green successes and share some of our concerns. We'll suggest a few green ideas for your library to try, and we'll have time for questions at the end. Please pop any of your questions in the chat box, and Deanne will be keeping track of the questions and saving them for at the end of the presentation. In 2006, a few library staff members got together to do some planning to acknowledge and celebrate Earth Day. Out of that planning meeting emerged a grassroots green team of committed staff volunteers that conceived of ways to save energy, reduce waste, and conserve water. Environmentally responsible choices included turning off lights, purchasing green products, expanding our recycling program, and composting. These choices proved effective in decreasing utility costs and uniting staff with a common purpose. Library administration and board members took note and supported staff efforts. In 2008, the Green Team presented to the municipally appointed library board to tell them of their successes over the previous years. Inspired by the Green Team, the board struck a Green Committee with the goal of adopting policy to guide decisions about all aspects of managing our facility more sustainably. Within a year, the board adopted our Green Buildings Operations Policy. In order to benchmark the library's increasingly green practices, our administration and library board applied for LEED, which is the existing building certification, which fit with our strategic goal of strengthening the library's commitment to the environmental sustainability. I'm thinking that everyone here is probably familiar with LEED green building rating systems. However, if not, Julie and I will be happy to discuss this during the question period. In June of 2011, our library received the LEED Canada Existing Buildings Operation and Maintenance Silver Certification. We are the first building to receive this certification in British Columbia and the first library in Canada to receive the award. Since then, the Library Board has continued to champion green initiatives. In our 2016 to 2020 strategic plan, sustainability was one of our 5 core values. And I quote, "We manage our resources responsibly to maintain financial, social, and environmental sustainability for the well-being of our community." End quote.
In retrospect, we believe that the makeup of our green team was one of the reasons for our significant progress towards sustainability. Enthusiastic and committed staff volunteers came from diverse departments: communications, youth, maintenance, information services. Due to the green team's efforts, word spread, projects proliferated, and daily routines changed. Staff turned on fewer lights before opening, traded disposable dishes for ceramic ones, switched to environmentally responsible cleaning products, located a green stationery vendor, and contracted a local company to recycle styrofoam and soft and hard plastics. We started an energy meter lending program so that members of the community could measure their appliance energy consumption. In some cases, we were ahead of our municipality. For example, back in 2007, staff started composting lunchroom organic waste on site and ferried home bins of compostable waste to our home composters. Now we have green bins for organic waste that are picked up weekly by the municipality. And in fact, all Greater Vancouver area residents have green bin pickup along with their recycling. Many of these changes were classic low-hanging fruit. Many were low cost or no cost. Creating displays and online book lists, for instance, are part of our routine. It costs nothing to occasionally highlight a green topic: gardening in the spring, water conservation in the summer, preserving fruits and vegetables in the fall. Encouraging staff to stay green with a weekly tip on the library's intranet or bulletin board during Earth Month costs nothing. Providing staff with the opportunity to earn a digital badge in sustainability does not require a capital outlay. Finally, the library is well positioned to play a public education role. As mentioned, we developed a strong sustainability collection and we promote it with displays and book lists. And we celebrate Earth Week with programming for all ages. We now circulate radon detector kits in addition to energy meters. The Grassroots Green Team's efforts were embraced and championed by 2 successive library directors, multiple iterations of our library board, the library's foundation, our Friends of the Library group, the staff, and our community. Environmental sustainability became a shared value across the organization. The Green Building Operations Policy ensures that we consider the environment along with price and performance in every major purchasing decision. The policy encourages waste reduction and energy and water savings. For example, by replacing water-intensive plants with native varieties, we minimized watering schedules. And you can see a photo of some of this landscaping in one of the, on the slide. In pre-COVID times, over 50% of our staff travel to work via a sustainable mode: cycling, walking, or taking transit. In the current pandemic, many library staff are chiefly working from home and commuting to the library only 1 or 2 days a week. And that's the number of our staff posing with their bus passes in front of the bus stop just outside of the library. In the center slide, you can see that we retired our beloved bookmobile and purchased this fuel-efficient and compact library car that now makes deliveries to seniors' care homes.
Thanks, Julie. Our library building was created as a war memorial to soldiers lost in World War II. Unlike other libraries who may decide to demolish an old branch and build a new, greener one, we are committed to retaining the original War Memorial building, albeit with a number of additions and renovations. Many of our recent modifications were made to meet LEED standards. Sustainability was a consideration in renovations that occurred over 2007 to 2009 and between 2016 to 2017. In both renovations, we were able to install low-flow fixtures, upgrade from single to double paned windows, install LED lighting, use eco-friendly paint, introduce water filling stations, and reuse shelving and furniture, including donating leftover shelving to other libraries. The library has been a leader in environmental sustainability for our municipality. The district has now caught up to us, and we have benefited from their sustainability programs, such as the green bin organic waste pickup and the recycling, which you can see here on this slide, which means that staff no longer must take compost home. In 2014, the District of West Vancouver appointed a citizen working group to develop a community energy and emissions plan to address the twin challenges of climate change and energy security. The District Finance Department has benchmarked environmental sustainability since 2015. And last year, the District of West Vancouver Council declared that climate change constitutes an emergency for the shoreline and forested community of West Vancouver. In support of the district's climate emergency declaration, our library planned a large-scale and multi-part climate emergency project in 2020, which we called Climate Futures. The library has encouraged citizens to act individually and collectively to prevent further global warming by introducing a reading challenge, an author event, and a community forum. The library collaborated with the District of West Vancouver Engineering and Planning Departments, who are also planning climate emergency projects for 2020. For example, earlier this month, in partnership with the municipality, we hosted a successful Repair Cafe, a free community event which brought people together in a socially distant way to learn how to fix basic household items with the help of experienced volunteers. This weekend, we will host the TED Countdown, which is their global initiative to champion and accelerate solutions to the climate crisis, and a workshop called Climate Future: Tools for Change.
Although we started as an ad hoc green team, we transformed into an official library green committee that continues to have representatives from all departments. Each member of the Green Committee cares about inspiring change from the ground up. Meeting 2 or 3 times a year, we act as a clearinghouse for staff or patrons to propose green ideas. For example, after a patron complained about cars idling outside the library entrance, we were able to get idle-free British Columbia signs erected along the road. The committee provides green eyes and ears, spreading the green good news by writing articles or presenting at conferences such as this one, and looking for grants and awards to apply for. Through grassroots efforts and the formal process of meeting LEED standards, library staff, administration, and board have become stewards of the library building and the environment. We gained expertise in greening everything from plumbing to pens and began sharing our knowledge with our patrons and other libraries and civic institutions. Our successes over the last nearly 15 years, however, do not guarantee future success. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, our 2020 Climate Futures program had to shift gears to virtual programming. With the COVID emergency overshadowing the climate emergency, some programs were not as successful as we had hoped. Despite this setback, we plan to continue in 2021, perhaps reframing the program as a positive action that can be done even during a pandemic. Another unknown is our 2021 to 2025 strategic plan, which is currently in development. Will sustainability continue to be one of our core values? Tara and I certainly hope so, and we have advocated for continuing to hold sustainability as a core value. We look forward to seeing what our green future holds. The best advice we can give to other libraries or other librarians is to just start. Your story will be different from ours, depending on your geography and the support given to sustainability in your community. Do what you can locally until your library, local, and regional governments catch up to you. Choose something you're passionate about and run with it. No idea is too small, and big ones are okay too. It was the library staff's small green ideas that inspired our administration and our board so that we now have a green buildings operation policy and have, at least for now, sustainability as one of our core values. If you're looking to start, here are a few ideas, some of which are depicted in the slide. Ideas include planting gardens at your library that encourage pollinators or butterflies or require less water. And in one of the corner shots, you can see the library's Mason bee house that's on a balcony just outside of our youth department. Someone can take charge of turning off the lights in various offices before you leave. If you do not have recycling at your facility, investigate what you can do to separate your garbage. Walk, cycle, or take transit to work at least one day a week. Encourage your coworkers to do the same. Print only when necessary, and change your printer default settings so double-sided is the default. Get your colleagues to follow suit. There will be hiccups. The pen pictured here is very sustainable as its center is made of biodegradable cornstarch. Unfortunately, the pen does not write very well. So this was one of the duds that we hit along the green road. Things do not need to be fancy. The center photo is of Tara and me in our DIY bike room for staff who cycle to work. Behind us, you can see a bike rack just made from 2x4s and metal tubing. And you can see the change room made from shower curtains festooned with bicycles. Out of sight is our clothes hooks and a bar to hang clothes. We encourage you to celebrate your successes, especially with food. In the bottom slide corner photo, you can see a pile of mismatched dishes purchased at a local thrift store that have replaced paper plates at staff celebrations. And decorations are used and reused and show up at wedding and baby showers, as well as staff retirement parties. There are many other small ideas out there. Pick one and start. Who knows whom you'll inspire? In the words of Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And Tara and I will be happy to take questions now, and I know Deanne is going to run the questions for us.
Absolutely. So as of now, we don't have any questions, so please feel free to put them in the chat box and I'll communicate them. Okay, so Vicki asks, are your policies available on your website?
Yes, yes. Our strategic plan is available on our website. And actually, I'll just flip to the next slide. We've put a couple of links here. One is to that green building policy, which I referred to earlier. And the other is to our current Climate Futures program. And then the third and last is to our current strategic plan, which will end this year.
Okay, thank you. Barbara asked, did anybody resist your efforts?
That's an interesting question. In the interest of full disclosure, neither Julie or I were there at the very, very beginning. We've both been there for quite a long time, but not since quite the very beginning so we can't exactly speak to the beginning of the green team and if there was resistance. But I think because it really started so small and naturally, just out of a kind of, as I mentioned, planning for an Earth Day, just wanting to put up a bit of a display and do a few programs, that it kind of just evolved it wasn't sort of, you know, a big, it wasn't what our Green Committee is today. So at that point, no.
Tara, I'm just going to add that even though a lot of the things that we did at the beginning were quite small, I think results were seen fairly immediately. And I mean, we're not talking about a 35% reduction in energy usage or anything, but even a 1 or 2% energy use reduction, they were pretty excited to see, because we really hadn't done anything official. Like, this was kind of just volunteer staff members working off the sides of their desk practically. So all of those things were really very small. But yeah, it seemed to work quite well. I don't recall any problems. Perhaps maybe in the summer, if the fruit flies overtook the compost, we might have had to stop for a while. And of course, during COVID, we've had to, we're using a lot more paper towels rather than reusable tea towels, for example. So some things they have put the brakes on, but other than that, no, we've pretty much had really good board and administrative support.
And I guess one last thing I'll add is that this isn't resistance, but it has happened over time. So we weren't able to, you know, replace all our light bulbs in 1 year. You know, we would sort of pick a wing and replace there. And then as we went through these renovations, we would replace things in that area. So, so not so much resistance, but things have been kind of staggered over time as we sort of have the budget and the resources for them.
Okay, there was a request for the links to be put in the chat box. Is that something that we can do?
I can try to do that.
Okay, thank you. Another question, who is in charge of the community gardens, and was it for all ages? And did you connect with the community gardening experts to do this?
I'm not sure if there was complete understanding. We don't have community gardens here. That shot I showed you of the side of the library is just a matter of the district, which does look after a lot of, looks after the library site, if you will. They slowly replaced water intensive varieties of plants with less water intensive varieties. We don't have community garden plots as such, at least the library doesn't. I know the local community center does, and there's lots of action there, as a lot of folks are in high rises and so forth, so they can get their gardening fix by going to the local community center. Tara, do you have anything to add to that?
No, yeah, that's exactly right. Both the district has done some native plant gardening, as Julie says, to reduce the need for water. And then also our facilities staff have replaced some of the plantings that we sort of look after similarly.
Okay, I'm sorry if you already covered this around, you know, regarding the community, reaching out with the community. Did you collaborate with schools and colleges to promote sustainability?
Right, that's an interesting question. One piece that we didn't share, I kind of alluded to it at the start, but because the West Coast and our location here near Vancouver, sustainability has been not embraced by you know the entire community, but by such a significant sort of majority, I would say, of the population that it hasn't been as you know, even other communities that are somewhat close to us, but a little bit further away, I know that there has been much more resistance to sustainability practices in libraries, but we've found that there is quite a bit of community support, and the school system, the school districts do celebrate Earth Day, for example, and have quite a few sustainability programs as well themselves. And neither Julie or I work in the youth department, so so we can't exactly speak to that one.
I will add that I know for Earth Day every year, and I suspect it didn't happen this year because of the pandemic, but there's a local stream keepers organization, for example. And on one Saturday in April every year, they do a salmon spawn fish release in the creek that's beside the library. So you kind of pick up your little salmon and then you walk about 100 feet from the library and you release the salmon into the stream. So we do connect with some community partners. And in reference to colleges and universities, I mean, we certainly take advantage of the expertise that is on faculty. One of the, it ended up being virtual programs that we had was with a local professor named Mark Jackard, and he is very well known in the Canadian sustainability environmental movement. So he was happy to speak at one of our Climate Futures 2020 programs.
Okay, great, thank you. Are there any resources that you can recommend that you've based your policies and initiatives on?
Well, I will say that we, for our professional collection within the library, we probably purchase, I would say, most of the books that are written on sustainability in libraries. So we have used those resources, and I think that when the board was developing that policy, it was influenced by the LEAD process that we were going through. So I think that we tailored it in some ways to meet some of those criteria.
Yeah, I'm just gonna add that Tara and I are not in upper library management at all. And so therefore, we don't have a lot of direct influence on library policy, particularly at the board level. But one of the things that we really wanted to show with this particular program is it doesn't need to start there. It can start at the very bottom levels of library staffing, and it can inspire others.
Okay, thank you. It looks like we have maybe 2 more minutes. So if anyone has one last question, seize the moment.
Thanks to Adrienne Ho for popping the online book into the chat there. I will definitely be checking this out for sure.
Well, thanks to all of you for saying thank you. We've, Tara and I are quite thrilled to be able to present today, and it was wonderful to see so many names flash across the screen. So that's wonderful. Thank you for listening. And again, you can Google us and email us. We're happy to answer any questions.
Yes, absolutely. I echo Julie. It's great to see such a big movement growing across North America, and we're super excited to be part of it today, and hope you have a good rest of the conference. And thank you so much to Deanne, as well as the rest of the organizers. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation.
Thanks, Deanne. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Deanne. Nice to meet you.
Take care.